that hurts the fact that we probably don't kill as many as a lot of people do. But also, I think it also helps on the other side that we maybe kill some coyotes that somebody else may not run an electronic call. So that's my story.
My name is Rusty Farmer. I live here in Henry County also. And Jon Paul and I have been hunting coyotes together for years. And like I said, we deer hunt and hunt about everything else there is to hunt and fish and just enjoy Tennessee, I guess you would say. But coyote hunting is one of my favorites, just from, like Jon Paul said, that adrenaline rush. You get that thing coming in there, and he's coming to eat what's making that noise, and especially using hand calls like Jon Paul said we do a lot. It can put them very close. And over the years, our setup most of the time, one of us is shooting and the other one's running a video camera. And had a lot of times you get that coyote in there at 6 or 7 yards, or get a bobcat in. Had a bobcat a few years ago that I could have stuck with my gun barrel. He was right there in our lap. And your heart doesn't get pumping like that for just a whole lot of other hunting times. When you get that thing that's coming right there to eat you, and he's that close. So it's a thrill. And like everybody said, we mess up a lot. And if a coyote will humble you real quick, you get out there and mess with them much. But it's definitely changed over the years for sure. I'm one of those crazy people that write everything down. And when we started 20 years ago, we would average calling one up about every 4 stands. And I would say now we're probably in the mid-20s between, on average on a year, we'll make 20 stands between coyotes a lot of times. So
you have some dry spells, that's for sure.
It's changed a lot, but it's still a lot of fun when it works out right.
Right.
Hey, Jon Paul, we've already had one person ask a question. What's your favorite shot size? And we're going to answer this live for y'all.
Yeah, so T-shot's great. Like T-shot. Dead coyote, that's a good load. It's a heavy, maybe a heavy shot. That's a great size shot. Good all around shot. So.
Okay. Well, nobody's asked this, but I'm going to go ahead and start out. What do y'all look for when you pull up to a farm or a spot? What do y'all look for?
Go ahead, Jimmy, and then we'll chime in. Go ahead.
Most of the time, I get phone calls or messages probably 4 or 5 times a week. People want me to come and kill coyotes. And the first thing I do, I ask them where the property is, and I'll go to OnX Maps or, Hunt Stand. There's a bunch of good apps out there, and I'll go straight to their property and pull it up on my phone and just look at the property. I'm looking for, I like those drainage ditches. I like the thickest areas on the property. But I'll ask them, what they hear. Are they hearing coyotes, at night where they're hearing them at? I'll ask them, are they getting daytime trail camera pictures of them? And so that one of the biggest things is, not every property is a good property to kill a coyote on. If it ain't holding the coyotes in the daytime, then you're probably wasting your time. So, but if they're getting daytime pictures, if they're seeing the coyotes, then I know they're there. Then I'm gonna start looking for cover, and I'm gonna focus on that cover. But the number one thing before I ever hunt the property is the wind. I'm gonna watch that wind, and you don't want to go in there. I don't care if they said they got coyotes all over it. You don't want to go in there and not pay attention to your wind, and you're going to shoot yourself in the foot day one and make those coyotes hard to kill.
That's right. I believe you got to do your homework on using your maps and scouting that property out. You just go out there. We know where we're going to set up before we ever go. We know our stand and where we're going to call from before we ever go. We have property on, just like Jimmy was talking about this just a while ago. You went and looked at the piece of property before you ever went in there to hunt it, because you need to get familiar with it. And we'll go in there in the middle of the day, drive through the property, try to get to learn it, try to get to know it. Say we're going to set up here, we can set up here. Depending on the wind, we might want to set up over there. Try to get close to that cover, but always do your homework. If you just go in blind, it's chance of that happening and being successful at it. It's very seldom, because you can look at it on a map even, and on a map it doesn't show how it rolls off and where you can't see. You need to go lay eyes on the property before you ever hunt it, or maybe go in and do an afternoon hunt, because you can kind of scout that afternoon, you can see what you're getting into there instead of going right in daylight. But the wind is critical. You've got a coyote's not going to cross your tracks and come in. He'll booger out every time. So always set up knowing that you're not going to walk through that cover where you think that coyote's going to come from.
What specific are you looking for? Like when I've gone, we've hunted field edge. So what specifically are you all looking for when you go in there?
Well, we most of the time, like I said a while ago, we run a video camera every time we set up just about. So we hunt a lot of fields. We'll hunt on the edge, try to get the best vantage point we can, where we can get as much footage of that coyote coming before it gets to us. Doesn't always work out that way. We'll hunt in the woods too, but if we're running a camera, we like to be in a field. And it's crazy. We've hunted together enough. If I go to a farm that Jon Paul's been to before, when we weren't hunting together, you just about go in there and I'll sit down right where he had sat down the time before, because we've hunted so much together and we look for the same thing. And but I think the thing they said about not going in blind to hunt, you're going to mess it up 99 times out of 100 if you just walk in there in blind without putting eyes on it, or at least looking at it on a map. You're going to walk through where you should have set up and you've blown it. You'd be better off not to call it and go back and come another time.
Come another day when the wind's right. So, hey, Jimmy, do you ever set up out in the wide open like some of them guys you see on TV?
If I got some cover, I want some kind of cover. I've sit on a hill before if it's got a lot of sage and stuff. There's some clumps of grass. I'll jump over by one. But when I do that, I'm gonna put that call way up,
Exactly.
as far as I can. It might be 100 yards away from me, but I haven't done it.
I am gonna say last summer, 2 summers ago in North Dakota, it's wide open prairie. We had to set out in the open, and we used some rocky bluffs behind
break
us
your silhouette up.
Yeah, to break our silhouette, and we were shooting from one hill to the other on those prairies. And now that was kind of risky, but we killed 3 in one afternoon, just bam, bam, bam. So it's pretty awesome. Hey, guys asking, are these harvested grain fields pasture CRP? Now I've hunted in bean fields as it's growing in the summer, and we've hunted in pasture. So what do you all prefer?
It doesn't matter. If it's got coyote sign, we don't care. We'll hunt any of it. I like the pasture because usually if there's a pasture, there's cows around. And that's a prime food source. Even if they're not bothering the cows, it's just they'll find something out there around them cows to eat. So that's always a good place.
What? Go ahead, Jimmy. You gonna say something?
The CRP fields, if you had your preference, if I had my choice, they hold a lot of mice and rabbits, snakes, and all that kind of stuff. And so there's a lot of food there for all the predator spots, bobcats and coyotes. So those are always if I had a farm that had CRP and had crops, I'd probably focus on them CRP fields.
One other question we had is, what about the wind and hunting wooded areas?
Well, it's tough on them wooded areas because you never know where they're going to come from. But just remember, they're never going to cross your tracks. So you need to be ready for that. But crosswind, in your face wind, but right over your back wind in the woods, that's a hard stand. I mean, they're going to smell you if they come in downwind, but and that's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to get downwind. And that's one thing that a field does have its major advantage, is that most of the time they're going to have to come out and cross that field or come out into that field. And then you can get the shot, but in a woods setting, they can come in from any direction. You need to know what your terrain is, so you can kind of predict where you think they're going to come from, whether it's a gully or a big ditch or power line right away or something where you think they're going to come from, some grown up area, big kudzu thicket or something like that. But yeah, if it's blowing to where that cover is, where you think those coyotes are, you need to skip that stand and go somewhere else and come back and hunt it another day. How
about we jump into, as we were talking earlier before we started this, the coyote calendar hunting year? Y'all want to run through that for our guest and kind of talk about that?
All right. I guess we'll go ahead and go back to January and February. We just come out of those months. That time of the year, there's several things going on. First of all, it's usually cold. This winter was kind of mild, but most winters it's cold, and your distress sounds work really good because them coyotes are on their feet a lot of times during the daytime looking for food. But it's also the breeding season, so you got them out there pairing up and getting ready to den up and stuff and have some pups. So I don't. It's not my favorite months to hunt them. They're prettier, the fur looks good and stuff. But you take a warm day in January and February, and coyote hunt can be tough. And a lot of times you got wind, and so to me, it's a tough time to hunt them. But right at that time, you got a couple things they can key on, and that's going to be their stomachs and of course their breeding. So you got a wide variety of calls that can work during January and February.
Yeah, they've got to eat all year long, so that stomach is definitely their weakness. The prey sound, they're just during those cold months, they got to have food on that belly, to make it. And so prey sounds are always great sounds to use.
Yeah, the prey distress in January, that's my go-to sounds. But I'll end that set. If I'm doing a set in January, February, I'm going to end it with some howls, some vocals, and I'll use pup distress year round. I'll throw some pup distress at the end of the set, but I kill most of my coyotes in the winter off of prey distress. And usually that's some kind of rabbit sound or woodpecker.
Yep. Same here. Same here. Exactly the same. We start every single stand with prey sounds. Mm-hmm. Always. All right, so now we're moving on into March.
I think March is tough. March is I got buddies that just stick with vocals in March. They'll still use a little prey distress, but it's warming up. I think there's more food out there right now than there is in January and February.
Yeah, definitely.
But in March, you can go out there with vocals, and now that this time the dogs should be paired up, and them vocals a lot of times just some howls and just some patience and just sit there and then wait 4 or 5 minutes and howl some more. And a lot of times that female, she's not going to like another coyote in her area. And whereas a lot of times they'll come in running and she might just come out there and check things out and see what's going on. And but I might kill 10 on a good March. I'll kill 10 coyotes in a month. But
I think they're very territorial in March and April. Even throughout the rest of the raising the pup season, the den season. But because right now, they're finding those dens, getting ready to have pups, and so like Jimmy said, territorial. And a lot of times when you call one in March, you're going to call up multiples. Whether it's a pair or even a group too. So you got your winter months, you got your spring, which is there's a lot of food starting to become available. I mean, they'll eat grass and fruits and berries and all kind of insects and stuff like that. So the food source is the rest of the year, before that first frost, the food source is very readily available. So prey sounds, I think, are becoming less effective.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I agree. Then you roll into my favorite time of year. We leave them alone during turkey season because like I said, I got lots and lots of landowners and I don't want to mess them up. Now, if they call me and ask me to come and kill a coyote, I'll quit turkey hunting and go shoot a coyote. But when turkey season ends in May, that's my favorite time of the year. The end of May, June, July, before the crops start getting too tall, it's my favorite time to chase coyotes. And that, like Jon Paul said, they're very territorial. Then at that time they got pups. And they don't want another coyote around, and so you can go there and I don't do any prey distress during the summer months. I just go and I challenge mark them, and I'll go into a fight or something, and the action's usually pretty awesome. So
and those pup cries, as we like those pup cries, spring, summertime, spring, because that's they got them pups. They've just been birthed, and I think that's a deadly call.
We use a lot of fawn distress that time of year. If we're going to use a distress call, after those fawn deer have hit the ground, that fawn sound, and if that coyote can kill a fawn, he's got lunch and supper for a day or two for him, and the pups and the mama and everybody can eat on that. You call up a lot of deer that time of year too, but that fawn distress can be killer if they're going to come to something.
I don't know exactly how true this is, but I had a guy with Quality Deer Management Association told me this. I'm talking about years ago. They were doing a study, and I don't even know what state it was in, but they were able to document and kind of observe a pair of coyotes. And during the spring, one male coyote is responsible for killing and bringing back to that den 17 fawn deer. I don't know. That's what I was told from this guy. I didn't do the research myself, but if that's true, that's pretty significant toll it's going to take on your deer population. It also tells me also that they like eating deer.
They like those
and so if you can make that fawn distress sound with a hand call or your Fox Pro, whatever, that's a deadly sound.
Yes, sir.
So your favorite time is the spring, first part of the summer there.
You can go out there in the spring, May and June. And a lot of times, if I know where them coyotes are staying, because they're really vocal at that time too. Yeah. Especially as the pups start getting bigger, them pups will hell off on them every time. But you just get right there in their bedroom, and you ain't got to play anything but a pup distress.
Right.
And the big dogs, usually they kind of leave them pups in one little area and they're out roaming or whatever. But as soon as they hear one of them pups in distress, they'll run you over, come in. And a lot of times they're not trying to go downwind and check the wind and stuff. They just want to get in there and see what's going on. So you can get a little forgiveness on some of that stuff. Of course, your wind, now if they hit your wind, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
But you ain't got to worry about them circling as much, I don't think, during that time of the year, unless they've been educated. If they're fresh dogs and you haven't been out there messing with them.
So then we get into the summer. We talked about the winter, the spring, summer, and still there. I still think the pup cries in the summer months are great. I mean, most people think about ticks and snakes and stuff, and you're not going to have as many people out there chasing them at that point in time of the year. You got it all to yourself. It's a great time. That late summer, early fall, I think is kind of the easiest time to call a coyote, that because you've got those dogs that are 3-4-month-old pups, still got milk on their lips, and they're suckers. They are suckers for coming in on prey sounds. That right there in that September, October window, that's a very easy time to kill young dogs.
Those young dogs, a lot of times, I don't know about y'all, Jon Paul, but we'll spook them a lot if we go to the pup distress. If you get real aggressive, they're shy by nature, and so a lot of times you get too aggressive, them pups, you'll run them off, and the big dogs will come in, but the pups don't. You got to take a little easier on them and coax them a little bit.
Once they do start coming, they'll just keep coming. We've sat on a stand there September 1st, and I'll never forget that. We was got a dove hunt that afternoon, and September 1st that morning, I think I called in. There's four pups that just came in, just one right after the other on prey sound. I mean, here come one, just bang, keep blowing a call, never get up, never stand up, just keep calling. And here come another one, here come another one, here come another one. And that was a fun hunt. And that was it. We was just running prey sounds, right, on those rabbit in distress, basically.
If you want to target the pups in the summer, once they're half grown, like he said, like 4 months old and stuff, they don't move much. They kind of got you. If you go out and locate them, you go out at night or something and do some howls, and they're going to talk to you. And,
very vocal.
And wherever you hear them at night, generally they're not like the big dogs right now. They're moving a lot. The next day they'll be in that same thicket, and so your only thing you got to do is watch your wind, and you can go right in that same thicket and go in there and play some bow squeaks, some baby cottontail, some bird distress, and you can put a hurt on them without getting aggressive at all, just because they stay in that same little area usually. They don't move much.
Farmers love it whenever they see you coming out their pasture, coming out of their farm there with 3 or 4 coyotes in the bed of their truck. They like that. That pretty much got our four seasons, but we hunt every season differently, and you call differently in every part of the season. I mean, however, they will all work all year long. We focus on different sounds depending on the time of the year it is.
We've had a couple questions come in while y'all were talking, so let's take a quick break and let's answer some of these, because I think if we wait too long, we're going to get behind. Using an electronic call, do you place the call out front where you hope to see the coyote come in, or in another location?
Well, we always put it out front. You know, we kill a lot of ours with shotguns. Most of the time, we'll put it 18 to 20 yards out in front of us. You know, try to get them in there close.
All right. Have y'all noticed your coyote calling driving away turkeys or deer? Do you avoid hunting coyotes during a certain time of the year? I know, Jimmy, you said during turkey season you kind of back off a little bit, but anybody, y'all got others' opinions on that?
Yeah, I chase turkeys, I chase deer. So whenever deer season's going on, I'm kind of in the deer hunting mode. But I mean, early on, September, October, yes, we hunt coyotes September, October in between our deer hunts. You know, if we have a few minutes, that's one thing that's so awesome about coyote hunting. You know, we both have jobs. You know, I got boys. You know, so to get out a few minutes before school or something like that, or before work, and you can get in a quick coyote hunt, whereas a deer turkey hunt, you know, you don't have the time to do that before you go to work a lot of times. That is the beauty about predator hunting. If you like hunting, it's a great sport because you don't have to go out there and sit all day long. And so, but during deer season, you know, and during the rut, I'm not hunting coyotes. I'm just not, you know, during turkey season, I'm not hunting coyotes. Now we call coyotes in while you're turkey hunting, you know, and we'll shoot them. But yeah, I just do coyotes whenever something else isn't going on. Pretty much, it's a good pastime.
Now, I will say that that's one of the first things that we took our son to do as a family, was going to a pasture in the cattle field up here and killing a coyote. And he just thought it was awesome, you know, because we had two come in and we got one, and the cow ran the second one off, or we would have got it. But that is a great way to introduce someone that's not been hunting, is to get them into it, because it is very exciting. And a lot of times you're there 5, 10, 15 minutes and you're done. You're going to another location to do another setup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fast paced.
Yeah, very fast paced. Got a couple others. What are your thoughts on decoys, prey and/or coyote decoys?
Go ahead, Jimmy. What do you got?
I don't use them much. They do work. And now, if you're shotgunning and stuff, a lot of times if you're in an open field and you got just say you got a raptor stress out there and it's spinning, and that key, you know, and all of them are different. Some of them will stop and look at it. A lot of times, though, if you don't have a decoy out there, they'll come out and they'll stop anyway. And that's what I want them to do. I want them to come out and stop where I can get a shot with that rifle. And, you know, I'll shoot them 200-300 yards if I have to. But if once they cross that 200-yard mark, you know, if they stop, and there's only one dog, I'm probably going to go ahead and shoot it. But a lot of times that decoy, and of course, it's just carrying it's the main reason. I don't like carrying it either. But if they key in on it, a lot of times you can't get them to stop. So if you're sitting there and you only have your rifle, and this coyote comes out and you got a decoy 40 yards sitting in front of you and it's spinning, and he keys in and he's running as hard as he can at the decoy, and you're barking, some of them are just, they hungry. And they'll just, and so a lot of times I got a shotgun and a rifle with me. If I got that, I'll just pick the shotgun up and shoot it with the shotgun. But a lot of times I mess up by having that decoy out there, just because, of course, the coyote comes all the way in. But once they get up in the decoy, or, you know, they're going to smell it, and then that's about the same way as shooting at them. You know, once they smell you or where you've been, they're going to be running, you know, just like you just pulled the trigger. So I don't use a decoy much, but a decoy it's definitely a rush when you got a coyote try to jerk that decoy up out of the ground or something.
So we don't go hunting without a decoy. That's just our style. You know, like you said, they're going to come in there close. They're going to present a quick shot, you know, running shot. And that's when that shotgun is so effective right there. We set a decoy up every time. And we have documented the filming of coyotes. They're out there at 250 yards. They're just standing there. And whenever they associate that decoy, whatever decoy you choose to use, I've never had any luck. Actually, I've never carried a hard body coyote decoy. We're talking about a prey decoy, whether it's a little, wobbler or spinner. And we've seen that coyote at 250 yards stop, associate. You can see them process it almost. They see that you make those sounds. They see that decoy and it just clicks and they just come charging right in there. We've had coyotes break our decoys before. We've had them, hit them, bite them, grab them. And that's a rush. That's awesome. I love it. So we don't go without them, but it's there. Your encounters you have a lot of times are a rifle. You can't kill them with a rifle. You have to have a shotgun.
They're fast. You get them in there running hard. We ain't as good a shot as Jimmy.
No.
We need to get them up there 20
Jimmy,
yards.
I'd rather kill one at 20 than miss. I'm just not that great of a shot. I'm not that confident, but now with a shotgun, I'm very confident.
Right.
And so I don't think I can think of a time where a decoy prevented us from killing a coyote that I don't know. I mean, it may have happened, but
if you have the decoy there, I think the shotgun with you, I think that's what helps.
Definitely.
A lot of times I don't carry that shotgun and you'll get in trouble trying to shoot a run
coyote
that's scope at close range.
I agree with that 100%. No doubt.
What she said also, about the hard body decoy or cow decoy, I've used them and you'll get mixed. I got mixed results with it. You have some coyotes that are real aggressive that will try to come. I mean, they'll charge in because it's in their territory and they see that strange coyote, and so they work. But then you also have one that's real, that's just a non-aggressive coyote. It might spook it or might come out and see it and run back in the woods or something because some of them are just real timid or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it'll work, but it could hurt you just kind of like that strutter decoy does sometimes if you're out there.
Sure.
You'll have some gobblers come running all the way up there trying to attack it, and you'll have some come out and see it and take off the other direction. So.
Sure. The decoy, it has its pluses and its minuses for sure.
I tell people a lot of times I'd rather leave my gun at home than have my decoy because it's just different for different people. Because that thing,
they'll drop it. You'll see them too. We've had them once they key in on that decoy, they kind of become tunnel vision on it. And they almost forget the wind sometimes. They almost forget about you, and it allows the hunter to get away with a little bit more movement, maybe a little bit more than he would if he didn't have a decoy there. So, there you go. We answered your question. Confused you real bad.
Yeah, actually. One of the other questions, and I'm going to combine two here. Is there a preferred call that you guys use? Then they're talking about scent again, and then how do you choose your volume? And I know, Jon Paul, you're a mouth call guy, and so maybe both of y'all can elaborate between the electronics and the mouth calls and why you prefer those.
Yeah, so they're looking for the magic sound. This is what they're looking for. There's not a magic sound. There's really not. I mean, there's sounds out there that work, but I think coyotes get educated to certain sounds. I think so. So we're going to change it up. Just like if you're a bass fisherman or a crappie fisherman, when you go fishing, I promise you got a tackle box full of lures. Some of them going to be chartreuse, some of them going to be swim baits, topwater baits, and you're going to change your bait up to what the fish are doing that day, and you're going to try to keep throwing something at them until you find what they like. And that's the same way with coyotes. I mean, you need to be willing to try something different and be versatile, I think, because one sound might flip their trigger. We've been blowing cottontail sounds with a hand call and been just sounding good, nothing. And then you switch over to bird sound and all of a sudden 30 seconds, that coyote is coming hard. So I don't think there's a magic sound out there. But day in and day out, we do like the bird sounds. We like the bird sounds day in and day out. We like mixed in our cottontail. And then I also run an open reed style call that would actually sound like a jackrabbit. And we ain't got jackrabbits around here. A coyote, they're an opportunist. They're not real selective on what it sounds like. I think if they notice that something's in pain, something's in distress, something's hurting, they're going to come check it out. They can't really sometimes decipher what it is. But that's just my hand calls. But there you go, Jimmy. What do you think on electronic stuff?
Are they on as far as the distress, I like starting my distress out loud. A lot of people, they'll start it out really quiet. I'll start it out kind of loud, but I'll back off immediately. So if that volume goes, just say my Fox Pro goes up to 40, I'll have it on probably 30, but I'll go all the way down to like to the teens. So I'll start out at 30, and to me it sounds it sounds like something just got caught. You know, when something first gets caught, it's screaming. So it's loud, and then I kind of back it down because I don't want it still screaming loud like it if when the coyote's coming. I don't want to booger it and everything. But so I'll start out loud, and I'll run it for usually less than a minute, and I'll stop it. But then I'll crank the volume right back up, and it's like it almost like it caught it again. I might sit there for 30 seconds, and I'll start over again. And that's if you're sitting with me on the stand, you've heard me do that's just the way I call up. But when I'm running distress sounds, I like start out loud. I used to start out real soft, and I feel like my success rate is better whenever I start out aggressive or loud, and then I kind of back off.
That's good. I never thought of that. We just kind of go in about half volume, you know, with our calls, and then kind of ramp it up, thinking maybe something hadn't hurt us yet.
If I'm tight to where I think they're at, you know, if I'm in big open fields, I'm calling loud. But if I'm right there close to the cover, then I'm gonna try to coax them out, and I'll do like a baby cottontail or something, you know, like a bird, something soft. I won't blow it out like that.
Right. Yeah.
And that's ideally that's what you want to do. You want to be quiet, get the wind right, and get in there close, and you'll up your success. But you know, if you're there tight, you know how good a dog can hear. They hear everything. You make one little movement, and you know your house dog, they'll key in on everything you do. Well, them coyotes are the same way. So if you're gonna get in there tight, you got to go in there quiet, you know, and minimize your noise and stuff. So.
I think that idea of using different calls. I think about Cody. We killed back here one day. We called him out. He come out about 250 or 300 yards, and calling, he just stand there he didn't really care one way or the other. Then change up sounds, and like the third sound we went to, it was like you lit a fire under him. And he came in, he was the one who broke our decoy. Just changing it up, being able to watch him made a difference because we got to try it. But you know, you think about if there's one out there 200 or 300 yards you can't see, you're looking at the same.
Be willing to try different sounds.
You know.
Now we talked about how the volume and the calls, but a couple questions is how often do you call, and then how long are you sitting on this, and how long do you call on one of your stands? I know like when we didn't stay more than about 15, 20 minutes at any location, and we moved. So what do y'all do?
Jimmy, or you go ahead.
Generally, all year round. Like, so we're in the winter time. I'm going to start out with prey distress, and I might throw a howl out there before I start, but I'll do that. And then I'll go into prey distress probably less than 10 minutes, and that's starting and stopping. I don't ever just run a continuous sound for 10 minutes, and I'll probably change. I'll probably run a sound for 2 or 3 minutes, and I'll swap something else, and then I'll end the set with some vocals. And I'll start with some howls and stuff. And my last thing I'll do is tuck distress or some kind of coyote fight. But generally all that in about 15 minutes. But I got a lot of farms. And usually if I'm hunting a farm, I probably got another farm down the road and might have 5 or 6 farms lined up to hunt that morning or evening or whatever. So I don't spend a lot of time. Now, if you only got a limited amount of farms, then you need to make, you do a 30-minute set or 40-minute set, but with a lot of breaks in your calling, I think.
Yeah, we start off, we'll blow our hand calls, for less than a minute, take a break, let it kind of settle down, watch, and do it again. And I'm ready to go. He's got he'll usually have the lanyard for electronic collar around his neck and on the camera. And about 7-8 minutes in, something had come. I'm like, man, you ready? Yeah. What do you think? Well, I'm ready to go. And like Jimmy said, we have been fortunate to we got a lot of property to coyote hunt. Deer hunting and turkey hunting, different story, but coyote hunting, we got a lot of ground. So we're not going to sit there long. If we're there 15 minutes, I'm already got my stuff packed up waiting for him to quit so we can go to the truck.
Now, if we have a coyote at the end of our stand, like Jimmy said, I start out every stand with prey sounds. If we hadn't had anything happen, in 10 to 12 minutes on those prey sounds, we might go to coyote vocal sounds. And if we have a coyote answer us or or 2 or 3 coyotes answer us, I'm going to hang in there a little bit longer. Really, I'm going to hang in there. I'll probably be willing to sit there for another 30 minutes or something just to see, depending on how far that pack was when they did respond, because they are a lot like turkeys. They'll get closer, and then you hit them again, and they're closer the next time that they answer back. So most of the time, on average, our stands are 15 minutes. And then if we have one answer back, and I'll be willing to sit there until hopefully we see him, or we just waited so long, we say, well, he's not coming, let's go on somewhere else.
Now, a lot of times, like what Jon Paul was saying, when they answer back, now if they don't come and you know where they're at and you got the cover, you can do just like you do in turkey hunt. You can move in closer and get the wind right, and then you close 200-300 yards on them, and you're obviously dealing with a totally different coyote. Then you're in the bedroom, and they're probably gonna run right on top of you then. So, I mean, you can booger them. You're taking a chance, but sometimes you might be moving on them just like a turkey. You think a turkey's hung up, and you start moving on it, and you bump it, because it was coming towards you while you're going towards it. But anyway, it's you want to have some exciting hunting. You locate some dogs like that and move in on them, and it's just like turkey hunting or something. It's pretty awesome.
Now, what is your all's preferred time to hunt? I kind of like late afternoon, but that's just me. But what's your all's?
It's kind of like deer hunting or anything else, late and early and late. Now, we did here a few weeks ago, we hunted an all-day hunt, and we called up 5 and 3 stands. We called up coyotes like between 2:15 and 3:15, 3 stands in a row, called up 3 or 4. And I think just when you can go, if you can get away and go a little while and you get on one that's hungry, he's liable to come anytime. But it's kind of do it just like we hunt a lot morning and evening just because it kind of works around work schedule and stuff like that. But I think you call them up any time of the day.
My favorite sunset. I like sunset. If I pick one between morning and evening, but your first light and last light's your best, I think. But that last 30 minutes of daylight it's hard to beat, and that's right when they vocalize, and a lot of times you get a vocal response, and if the light don't get away from you too quick, you can do a lot of good in the afternoon.
Yeah.
All right. One of the questions that's came in earlier that I haven't been able to get to, any tips for the folks in East Tennessee mountains? Mountain hunting can be tough. So got any advice for them?
Just stay after it. I've never hunted over there. We've hunted, hills of West Tennessee and Middle Tennessee a little bit. But I would say it'd be about the same. It's a coyote, they're going to need something to eat. They're going to be the mating season, I'd say, be about the same as it is here. And so just adjust your calling. Of course, you're not going to have the open fields over there probably like we have here. So get close to that cover.
If you're in the mountains, I think I've hunted a little bit of hills. Locating's your best tool over in that area. If it's all woods, rather than go blind calling and just where you got woods and ridges all look the same, you'd be better off to go out at night or early in the morning or something and locate some dogs and then try to move into those areas. And the times I've hunted the hills, that's what we drove around, and we locate several groups, and then up in the day we'd go in those areas and try to move in there close to where we drop a pin where they were at.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, otherwise you're just blind calling big open woods, and I don't think your success rate will be higher if you get closer to those dogs and locate some.
So locating them, Jimmy, I guess somebody might not know what we're talking about there, but siren or just go out there and use a howler, howling, trying to get them to answer back. So
you can go out a couple hours before daylight and drive to the spots you got to hunt and just get out and do some howls. And most of the time, they're going to answer you. Not all the time, but they're pretty vocal, especially if you're talking. I'm talking the summertime, and they're just more vocal that time of the year, I think. And but you can locate them, and there's a good chance I got pups or something around, and they're going to be in that exact spot where they vocalize that. Once it gets daylight, and then you go in there and increase your odds of killing them.
We've got a megaphone that we carry with us. When we trying to locate coyotes in the middle of the night, it's a sound to it. You don't want to do it if you're close to some houses because they're going to start calling the popo. But yeah, it's just a big long siren sound, and those coyotes, man, they just like your dogs at your house, they'll fire back on it.
One of the other couple questions are more of situations on their own property. Like one of them, I have 5 to 10 coyotes around my house, mainly hearing them at night, but I've seen a few during the day, and I'll have them on trail cam early in the morning. I have less than 10 acres on a steep hillside overlooking a neighbor's farm. What would be the best setup and call to kill a few of them?
Well, just like we've been talking about, I think overcalling a place is, if you got cows like that, your first time you go in after them is your best time to kill them, because you're going to educate them. And so, depending on if you're just wanting to kill some cows, I like Jimmy say right there in the summer, or in the fall. Would be the time they'd be most susceptible if you're just trying to kill some of them. But my number one thing is, to be a successful coyote hunter, okay, is you got to have access. You got to have access to property, to land. But if you just got 10 acres, that's all you got. That's up to you. You know how much you want to go hunting them, but you're probably not going to have a whole lot of success after that first or second time.
Yeah, that's one thing I meant to touch on also, like you're saying, Jon Paul. And I think it's one of the biggest mistakes new coyote hunters make. But just say you got a lease, or you got your family farm, it's 100 acres. You can, but you don't need to go out there and hunt very often. Maybe once a month. Even if it was 3 or 4 times a year, that will increase your chances of being successful every time you go, versus if you go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and you're like, and it's not a secret sound, you done educated your coyotes, and we can you can say, hey, I want you to come over, Jimmy, and try to help me kill these coyotes. Well, I'm gonna go over and do the same thing you're doing. I'm probably not gonna call up any coyotes because they've done been educated. They're super smart, and the more time you can let them rest in between your hunts on the farm, the better you'll increase your success rate.
Yeah, a lot of people hunt the same piece every weekend, and like I said, that first or second time you go is your best opportunity.
Would you give any particular, let's say you do have that lease, would you give it any amount of time before you would try it again? Or you're just done and you need to move on?
I'm saying months.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't hunt the same farm twice a year, maybe.
Okay, that was one of our questions that come in. One other question here. Somebody owns a cattle ranch in Middle Tennessee, rarely see coyotes during the day except when they are hunting for turkey eggs and young chicks, but are always chasing coyotes out of the pastures and when the cows and calves at night. So any suggestions on how to deal with those coyotes?
I think you figure out where the coyotes are standing in the daytime. So if you go out there and talk to the farmer, or if you are the farmer, if you're landowner or whatever, where them coyotes start howling right when it gets dark is probably where it might be on your farm, or it might be on your neighbor's farm, but they should sound off most afternoons right at sunset. And that'll give you a general idea of probably where they're spending their day at. And so if it's off your property, then that's probably where you need to talk to your landowners or your neighbors or whatever, and get access to that property. Otherwise, if they're not staying on that cow pasture during the daytime, you're probably not going to have any success. You might kill one on it, but you're better off to go where they're staying at, which a lot of times is not the property you're hunting.
And it's not that difficult to get coyote hunting permission. I mean, it's getting more difficult. It used to be very, very easy, but now then what you're getting into is, well, somebody else is hunting there. Somebody else is hunting coyotes there, and so they might be educating them, and you don't even know it.
No.
Yeah, that's a good point with land getting harder and harder to get. One other question that came in back when we were talking about calling, when a coyote answers a howl, do you howl again, or do you just let them try to find you?
We always howl back. So I usually start out, if I'm going to howl, with just kind of a lone howl, which would be a longer drawn out howl. And if they respond, I'll chime back in with almost like right on top of them. Whenever they answer me, Then they'll usually, if there's multiple coyotes and they're making, just yipping and barking and howling, then I'll just join right in there with them and go a little bit longer than they do. Kind of whenever they quit, then I'm still making my sound so they can kind of pinpoint that. And then we stop calling for a little while. And a lot of times they'll come right in, but that's where you might want to switch to a fight sound. That's very, very effective. What do you think, Jimmy?
I get aggressive if if their howls when they respond to me. If it sounds aggressive, then I'm gonna jump on that challenge bark or something. Maybe one of them male long howls on the Fox Pro, and then I'm going to a coyote fight and pup distress. And that's if they're close. And if they're way off, I won't get so aggressive. But if they're right on top of me, and that a lot of times I feel like I can tell that big male if he's just sounding, he's just roaring there at me, and I'm gonna go right back at him and straight to that fight and pup distress and get ready, because usually they're gonna, especially in the summertime, them jokers, if you hadn't messed with them, they're probably gonna run you over coming in. So.
But if they do answer a long ways off, like we were talking about earlier, you just wait, give them a little bit of time, howl back at them again, and they may have cut the distance, or you could go cut the distance if your property allows you to make that next advancement. If not, just you're gonna have to wait them out, get them a little bit closer, and then maybe get aggressive.
Now, that summertime hunting, if they answer you like that off in the distance, and you're on some big, say, some farmland, but there's a block of woods over, and that's where they're at. You can walk right up in those woods with them jokers, and you might try a little prey distress, but if nothing else, just go right into the pup distress, and you should be killing a dog pretty easily. So.
All right, Jon Paul. Somebody has asked, you gonna hit any of those calls? I know you've got some in your hands.
Yeah, we can. These are calls that Rusty and I make. Actually, we call them a deceiver. We have a single reed and a double reed sound. We use a single reed to do like a fawn distress in the summer, in the spring. In your cottontail sounds.
You got wound up, so.
So just. When we have a double reed, it's just a little more raspy. Just we can squelch it off and get a little higher pitch sound too, like a rodent sound. The open reed is the call that I was talking about, like a jackrabbit sound. And when coyote hunting was good, and when I say good, the last, I'd say 10 years, in my opinion, coyote hunting has changed from a pressure standpoint. You got your a lot of contest hunters out there. Then you just got more people who are chasing coyotes and pressuring them more. But we used to call in lots of coyotes with hand calls, and one of my favorite sounds was just the open reed call. Just so there's just a few of our prey sounds that we would do.
I'm laughing because you have my bird dogs completely wound up at the moment. So I think all 15 of them are barking.
I can hear it.
Yeah, sorry for the attendees there. Consequences from working from home, I guess. We do have a lot of questions. What do you do with the coyotes after the kill?
Give them to Jimmy White.
Wait, I got a friend that even it don't matter if it's summertime, it don't matter if wintertime, it don't matter if the coyote shot all up. There's and a lot of people don't realize it, but there's a lot of things I guess you can do with that coyote. He'll let it decompose and he'll sell the skeleton off of it. He'll sell the feed. He makes the heart. He makes a lot of money off of a coyote. he had for sale the other day, and I know I'm getting gross with this stuff, but he had, like, from our last contest, I gave him 25 coyotes. 4 of the coyotes had heartworms, and so he dissected those jokers and he put it in that little jar, like with that preservative, whatever, and he sold them coyote hearts with heartworms for $80. And so that's a lot more than you'd ever make off a pelt. He'll take the skulls and he'll clean all the skulls and he'll paint them or whatever. He might sell them for $45 or $50, and so there's a lot of money you can make out of that coyote. Usually we just throw them in the ditch. So if he wants them, I'm throwing them in the freezer for him, and he come and get them. If not, I'm gonna throw them in the ditch, probably.
We used to know a fella in where was he living at, Bartlett or something?
Down around Memphis.
Yeah, in Memphis, that we would meet him. We would keep our coyotes throughout the year, and we go down about twice a year and meet up with him either in Jackson, and but he's not interested in anymore. Sometimes we get like $25 or something.
At the time, he was buying them from us whole. We didn't have to skin them or anything. We just throw them in that old freezer. We'd throw them in there and meet him a couple of times a year. He'd buy your bullets, you know. Back in the 80s, really before we had coyotes, when coon hides and stuff like that were good, you could afford to skin one. But it takes me an hour to skin one. I ain't doing that for $10.
Right. I've cleaned a lot of coyote skulls. You know, I do bureau mounts, and anyway, I think you can sell them skulls for $15 or $20, and a lot of times I'll clean, 10 or 12 skulls at a time, and there's people who want them, so there's money in them if you want. If not, just throw them in the ditch.
I know here in Jackson, we've got a guy that's really into, especially with all the trappers, he was into the skulls this year. He's making more money in skulls than he is, selling the pelts. We got 3 more questions, and I'm going to answer those, and then I'm going to try to wind this down. We've been going for an hour, and we've had some good questions and some good discussion. Here's one question that came in. Is there any point in hunting multiple sits on the same property? If so, how far would you move after a sit?
No, definitely. It's happened to us many times. We've moved just less than 100 yards from where we've set up before. I don't know, maybe that coyote was already coming, though. I mean, he may have already been coming, but sit down and then call one up just right away. Yeah, we will hunt depending on the wind. If the wind is a strong wind, you can make multiple stands on one piece of property and get away with it. But if you've got very light wind, a lot of times we feel like our sound we're making can cover the whole farm. Your acoustics are different too. In the morning, the earlier it is, I think they're going to be able to hear you better. But as the day progresses, you get later in the day, midday, those sounds, the acoustics are just different. I can't explain it, but somebody else is smarter than I can. But I know, you just think road noise. I can think about times sitting in a tree stand where the road might be 2 miles away, but it sounds like it's right there on top of you. But then after the sun gets up and everything, and up in the morning, you can't even hear the road. So I think that's a good illustration of how the sound doesn't carry as much later in the day because of the acoustics. So you can you can make multiple stands on one farm. We've done it and had good success.
And terrain plays a lot in that too. If it's hilly, you might move to the next a hill or two over, and you're calling it something that maybe that ground kind of buffers the sound. Just the things that would inhibit your sound, that's going to have a lot to do with it. If you're hunting on a farm that's just one big field, flat, and it's not real windy, you feel like, and by the time we get done with our set, everything that's close enough to hear it has heard it. So we might as well go somewhere else. It depends on a lot on the farm.
All right, one other one here, and this is going to be a little bit more of a challenge because it's more in an urban area. It's an urban neighborhood, kind of on a edge of a wilderness area. They do hear coyotes at night, and so how would you handle that? They're losing pets out of the neighborhood, which is far too common.
I've got several farms. I live in West I live in Milan. There's several places I hunt that's right on the edge of town, and some of them's actually in town. And But if you got an area where it's safe to shoot, and there's always those little pockets where it's a little wooded area, somebody might own 10 or 15 acres, and generally those areas are going to hold, fox, coyotes, bobcats. They'll stay there. And of course, at night, they run around over in the city and stuff. But anyway, I have a lot of success hunting in the city limits a lot of times. You probably need to leave your rifle home and take a shotgun, something that's safe, and just be conscious of which way you're shooting. But it's those are some pretty easy coyotes to kill right there, actually. You can narrow down exactly where they're probably staying at just by looking at your map or something.
Definitely use a shotgun. That'd be my advice for that.
They're used to smelling people all the time too. You get by with a little more, it seems like, on them town dogs. They smell people all the time. They're in and out of their garbage and walking by their dryer vent and everything else. They smell them all the time. So a little bit easier if you can find it. Just gotta be the right setup.
Well, as we wind this up, what piece of advice do you have for hunters? What do you see mistakes or things that, what advice would you give someone?
My number one thing, if you want to be a successful coyote hunter, I said it a little bit ago, is access to land. The more land you got, the better opportunity you have to kill coyotes. And so it's just going to take some effort on your part, getting out there, making some phone calls, knocking on some doors, getting out and meeting some people, farmers, going and making some visits and trying to get permission on more property, more access. That'd be my number one tip.
I'd say don't give up. We talked about it a little bit earlier. When we first started calling coyotes, we were called up one every 4 or 5 stands. Now it's 15 or 20. I think a lot of people, they go buy a caller, they buy some hand calls, and they go a couple of times and it doesn't work. It either goes in a yard sale or, goes in the back of the closet. Just keep after it. Because once you call one up and get him in there, it's going to change everything. You're going to really get addicted to it. So don't just try a couple of times. If it doesn't work, hang up the towel. Just keep going.
My main advice would be just like I said earlier, and Jon Paul didn't hit on it just then, just don't overhunt your spots. When the wind's wrong, I don't care if it's 5 degrees outside, it's going to be a good day to go call a coyote. If that wind's wrong from that farm, just stay off of it, because once you educate them, you kind of run that farm for the winter or something, so watch your wind, and like he said, you're going to get out of what you put in. If you put the effort in, it will eventually pay off, but it could take you, a few years to actually get to where you're killing any number of coyotes, and it's not, if it was easy, I probably wouldn't enjoy it as much as I do, but it's a dang challenge, and once you start, kind of having some success at it, it's my favorite thing to hunt. There's nothing I'd rather hunt than a coyote. It's my favorite. But it took a lot of effort, and it didn't happen overnight. Like I said, and Jon Paul, we've all been hunting them for, around 20 years or so. And 20 years ago, like I said, I killed them first 2 coyotes. I think that's the only 2 I killed that whole year. But I got lucky. It was luck, and I guarantee I wasn't looking at no wind or anything. I just went out there and blew a call and killed a coyote. But once you start figuring out all your mistakes and adjusting those, it's pretty rewarding when you outsmart one of them old coyotes.
Now, Jimmy, I'm going to ask you something, Jimmy. What is your number? I heard it's over 600.
The last 4 years, I've watched over 100 die each year, up 120, 130. Prior to that, I think that maybe 5 years ago, I might have killed 70 something. Other than that, everything was staggered out. So it really, the last 5 years, I've started killing coyotes good. Before that, if I had a year where I killed 15, I was bragging about it. When we hit 20 or 25, we was bragging about it. But it took those years we thought was awesome. Now we kill them pretty good, but it's because of the land we've acquired. Facebook, I ain't bragging when I post a picture of a coyote on Facebook. It just helps me. It helps my phone ring. It helps me get more messages for people saying, hey, come and shoot some coyotes over here. So land was what changed it more for me than anything, just getting access to more properties. So.
Guys, I greatly appreciate y'all giving some advice tonight. I think our audience has learned some things. We've got some good feedback from some of our guests. Great info. Many thanks on the seminar. We might try to do this again, maybe in the summer when things change and they've got those pups, and we might go more in depth if you all want to. But I think this has been a pretty good little deal tonight.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yep, appreciate it.
All right, we're gonna.
Anybody's ever got any questions? If anybody ever got any questions, I don't think Jon Paul will mind if you hit us up on Facebook, send us a message. I love daytime coyote hunting, and I sure don't mind helping anybody if they got any questions about it.
Same here.
All right, that's great. Y'all heard that. If y'all want to contact them, you can reach them through Facebook. And also, we've recorded this and we'll put it on YouTube. So if you missed something or you want to go back and listen to something again, you can go to our YouTube channel and you can catch it again. Thank you, guys.